Good morning to everyone, and welcome to this WISE colloquium that we are organizing on the occasion of Women's International Day. This year, instead of looking for a top speaker from outside of CNIO, we thought that why not to look within the CNIO, that we have, since we have excellent women leaders here. Of course, any of the CNIO group and unit heads could have been speakers at this colloquium, but due to time and space limitation, we have had to select a small representation among them. These are the CNIO director, Maria Blasco, who is also head of the telomere and telomerase group, Nuria Malatz, head of the genetics and molecular epidemiology group, Ana Losada, head of the chromosome dynamics group, and Francisca Mulero, head of the molecular imaging core unit. The colloquium is going to be moderated by Monica Salomoni, that is the head of the communication department. Thank you to all of you for accepting this invitation. And without further delay, let's start this colloquium, Women Leader in Science.
So, good morning to everyone. Many thanks for coming here. It's an honor. Thank you, Isabel, for organizing and for inviting me to moderate this wonderful panel of highly successful women. Moderate is in Spanish. I don't know if in English it has the same meaning. It's difficult to moderate them because they talk very freely among everything. We may think that how women are in science and women, the leadership role by women in science is something that belongs to the past, because we may think that, well, everything is just normalized and we have reached an equilibrium, but this is not true, especially not true at the highest position. So I think it's a very good opportunity to listen to their experience. And I have prepared a set of questions, but of course, you are very welcome to have your own questions at the end of the debate, and also not questions, just reflections and opinions. So I found a very recent opinion article in Science yesterday, which said that across many fields and career stages of academia, women report a lower sense of belonging compared to with their male colleagues. So this lower sense of belonging is something very diffuse. It's not nothing that can be maybe measured with numbers. But I wanted to start by this, and maybe with Nuria. Do you think, Nuria, that is this a problem that you feel, this, or maybe have ever felt along your career, the sense of not belonging because it's a male field?
Well, first, thank you for the invitation to participate in this colloquium. And thank you all for participating also. So I have to say regarding that question that probably now, because I'm quite old, I don't feel this, I don't have this feeling, of not belonging. Probably I already reach a state that I say, look, I have already demonstrated what I'm able to do, what I'm capable to do, and that's it, no? But in the past, I had this feeling quite frequent, no? And from the very beginning, no, when I remember, for example, that I was doing my thesis first years, and I decided to get married, and when I communicated that to my boss and to the big boss, not the immediate, but the big boss, his first reaction was, okay, so that now you will leave science and you will stay at home. So I was really shocked because of that feeling. And then you always ask yourself why you are said that. Is because you don't reach the standards, or you are not good enough to work in this field? And this has been done, no? or this has occurred during your career. And even now, I had some occasions that I felt that I was not considered as I should be, and these sometimes affect your confidence in as a science. But because of age, I decided that it does not care. Yeah? Why not? Yeah, that's it.
So it's surprising that you had this feeling also in biology, in biomedical field, because in my experience, physics or astronomy or mathematics are fields with less women, but in biology there are a lot of women, maybe not at such a high level. So, but this is consistent also in biology. This feeling of maybe you are not good enough because somebody makes you feel with a comment, with a subtle comment. Yes.
I have the opposite feeling. So I never felt as not belonging, but everyone in surrounding me feel that I not belong. I was the first person to do the PhD in the center that I work. I'm a medical doctor, so I was the first person, not the first woman, the first person. Nobody else in my department has the PhD. But I felt that I have to do it because it's a plan of my career, and everyone, I think, they watch me as kind of a strange person that is interested, not impatient, mostly in doing science, mostly in doing everything else, and they feel that I not belong. But myself, I feel totally involved in the work that I was doing. So I think it's the opposite way, and I think they think also that I not deserve to be different. But I was different, and I fight for doing that, and I was very calm. I am aware of that right now, not in that time. So in that time, I was very happy, very integrated in the group. But right now, I feel that everybody didn't help me to do what I want to do.
Nuria, may I ask where did you have that comment from your boss? Was it in Spain or abroad?
Yeah, it was in Spain. Yeah, it was all times, but probably now it could be different, or yeah.
So do you think now it will be different?
But look, this also happens today, at present, no? For example, and even at the European level, not only in Spain or in Barcelona, but at the European level. We collaborate with many groups at the European level, and we know, probably not to me directly, because now I don't care about that, and I'm the boss, so to say, but with people in my group, they are ignored. And they are super good members in the group, and they contribute enormously in the projects, and they are ignored because they are women. So this is a serious issue, no? And we have to fight, and we can make it, and as good as our counterparts, no, male. So, and we have to demonstrate. But yeah, always this is a matter of confidence, probably, and we should be confident that we can do it, and we demonstrate it.
Maria, you want to say something?
Well, I was lucky, I think, because actually my two bosses, where I started being a scientist, were women. First, it was Margarita Salas, and so I had an absolute sense of belonging because my boss was another woman. And then when I did my postdoc with Carl Grader, the same. So I had a sense of belonging, and other group leaders in the field of telomeres were women. So Liz Blackburn, Ginger Sakian. So I always felt very safe in my training as a PhD and as a postdoc. I think I started not feeling this sense of belonging, even though maybe I was like Paki, so I was like doing my thing. But yeah, I got some questions like that. For instance, when I was with my former partner, I was a male, I was asked if I was working for him. Everybody assumed I was working for him. Nobody considered that I could have my own lab, for instance. And then maybe outside of the science strictly, in some committees where all were males and maybe I was the only woman, I had the sense of not belonging or at least not being in a safe place. And I would like to mention this in a safe place, because this is something that, for instance, Liz Blackwood mentions in her memories, that when she was doing science, she always felt in a safe place. So I think science is a safe place for women because it's based on your merits. At least when you are training, when you are producing, it may be different when you are, in other things that are not purely science.
Maybe what you mentioned about Carol Grader and Margarita Salas and Liz Blackburn, you are also bringing the topic of the role models. Do you feel you have had enough role models in your career? Maybe you, of course, but, and is this still a problem in biology? And if you have this wider view also in other fields of science?
I think it's still a problem, but maybe Anna can.
No, I mean, I've never worked for women. It's always been male bosses in my case. I've never had gender issues with them, I have nothing to say in that regard. I think role models are important, maybe unconsciously. So maybe you are not conscious of these things, but the more the more gender balance the surroundings of a person, I think it's easier to fit in, right, and not to feel strange. But role models are also difficult to find. But it's not only in science, when we study literature in the school, most literature that we study are men, there are no women. So I think all this leaves un pozo, I don't know how you say that in English, that, it's in your mind. So most of the scientists, physicists are male, so it's difficult to, fight against that.
Very often, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when this problem of the lack of role models was considered and was presented to the public, everybody thought about Marie Curie as the main, of course, great role model. Exactly. So that is the thing. When, as a child, as a girl, you have a Nobel Prize. Actually, a woman who has won 2 Nobel Prizes, or maybe more. I don't know. I'm mistaken. Two. Curie too. Which is a lot, of course. But so maybe the message is you need to be like Marie Curie, which is so amazing. And maybe what the girls need is something in between, something more normal. Their mother, their friends, or their aunts, something which is not that far away, like Marie Curie. Could it be?
I think role models are very important. I have an anecdote from the former ambassador of Sweden in Spain. We had a debate, and he said when he was a kid, in his house, there was a photograph of Marie Curie, and he thought when he was a kid that scientists were all women, because he was the most famous scientist at the time when he was a kid. So I think this is a role model. So something that shows you that this is a way you can follow.
I agree with that, and I think it's important also for males, because they can just normalize that exist women that can be astonishing or can be very great in their job. So the society in general could take into account that maybe more women can reach this top level or medium level, because I think that we will be equal when there is the same mediocre, I don't know, woman in places of power than men. So we'll be equal in every stage, not in the top one, but in the middle, but in the rest of the stages.
You mentioned the unconscious biases. And Nuria mentioned the fact that we ourselves, women, we have to do some work with ourselves, if I understood correctly. Do you want to comment on that? And maybe start by these unconscious biases that we might have.
So as I said before, I'm not being conscious so much in the past. I'm conscious right now that I was being biased, deciding many things in my life. But I think we can overcome this just being stubborn, just going for your goal. And okay, we were raised with this bias, so there is something that you cannot avoid when you have a kid. And if the kid wanted to be dressed by pink clothes, you have this dilemma. So choose whatever you want, but what is going to happen if you send your kid to school with these pink clothes? So we raised with that. We need to change this. But one good thing that I think my parents made with me is raise me without this consciousness of being biased.
I have another anecdote. I was in a debate with, I think, was the ambassador of Nepal. She's a woman ambassador of Nepal now in Spain. And she organized a debate, and there was Mara Dirsi, who's a scientist from working in Barcelona. And the issue of this famous paper, the PNAS paper of John and Jennifer, the same CV with the name of a male or a woman, she said that she repeated that. I mean, that there was another experiment that was done, she was involved, and the result was the same. So the paper was published in 2012, I think. Now we are in 2023, and this unconscious bias remains. So I think it's very strong, and we must put more attention in being aware of it.
Yeah, actually, there's a paper study that showed that papers from women are less cited than those from men. And this is already well demonstrated. But biases, we are humans, and so we are, and not perfect for sure, no? So, and biases are applied to many aspects in life. It's not only woman or gender in this colloquium, but also in race, in sexual differences, in identity, disabilities, in religion, in culture, and even countryside regions. No, so I think that what is important is that we identify these biases and we try to fix them and to talk and to comment and to discuss about them and to identify the ways to solve these biases. No?
Yourself, are you? Can you mention one occasion in which you yourself have felt that now I'm being biased and I have to correct that? Do you have some experience for yourself? I just had one when Maria said the ambassador of Nepal. I immediately thought of a male ambassador. Never thought it was a woman.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's something that really comes up without you thinking. So do you have an example?
Driving. When I drive and the car head is doing something wrong, I always say, she's doing this awful thing. I'm sorry, I'm not biased. But I'm trying to fix this. I'm working on that.
I think regarding these assignments of soft skills to women, but I think sometimes it doesn't happen. That the woman has exactly the soft skills or good time management. But I believe that it is, but maybe it's a bias. Maybe there is men that have these skills and women that doesn't have at all. This left hand treating people. I don't know. I'm not sure if this is a bias or not, or it's real. That in our DNA we have.
That's a key point, and maybe I'm not sure we want to get into that, or maybe you do. It's, how many of the differences that we see socially are social and culture, and if there's any biological basis with that. I think it's a very complex debate, and maybe we prefer not to get into that. But
No, we all have biases. I now remember one. I was in the hospital last week with my mother, and they were they were nurses, of course, that they come in and out of the room, and they are doctors that they come in and out. And I was told that a cardiologist would come in the afternoon, right? And then appeared these two young women, and I thought they were the nurses, and they were the cardiologists. So I had a bias.
Well, I tried not to have them, but you can ask them, those in the group, whether I'm biased or not. No, but I try to treat and to boost and to enhance the work of everybody in the group. But well,
Another question regarding, which is not planned, but they come up very quickly because it's a very common issue. But when we as women, I include myself, we try to face this social context. Sometimes I feel personally a strong, like rebuke, a response. For instance, I have commented on the weird feeling that you get when you step up to a scenario and the audience is mostly men, like 99% or 95%. It's something. I mean, it's already very difficult to get to talk to an audience, but if they are mostly men, then it's like a bit more difficult. I don't know if you have this feeling, and if so, when I comment on this, very often people say, "No, come on, you have to overcome this." But it's not that easy, and it's not for me. It's a confession.
but not in an audience when you talk, but maybe in a meeting, in a committee, that you have to raise your voice, you have to talk louder. No, because to make to make your points, no, this happens several times, and another point is that I try not to interrupt the speech of the others, but men do this quite often. Sorry, okay. Luis,
And also the mansplaining, right? That
Yeah.
there is, this happens many often.
Yeah.
Happened to me many times. I need to we say something and then someone else says the same thing afterwards.
Yeah. Sorry.
But finally, you enter in this field and you know the rules, and then you probably you act similarly.
What about the measures that we have to do to get over this and to change the situation, at least finally? Do we have to do something, or is it just a matter of time, in your opinion?
I don't think it's a matter of time. This have to happen now. No, we cannot wait more. So I think that we have to be active, changing things, because we are on delay. I think we are very on delay. WISE office was created many times ago, and this is change, but too small from my opinion. Not enough. Not enough fast or quick.
I think it's changing, and I think time is important. But I also think that we have to help time. So positive actions, I think I'm in favor of quotas and in favor of positive. I mean, quotas are bad for women in many instances, because some people think you are there because you're a woman, not because you're of your value, and because sometimes when you have to have committees in which you have equal number of men and women, that means that for women you have to be in more committees. So you have to spend more time in bureaucracy and things like that. But I think it's worth the effort. I think it's important to promote. And I mean, of course, I don't want women to be there just because they are women, but when the value of the candidates is similar, I think you have to favor the woman.
I absolutely believe that. We are doing that at the Seminario. We try to do that in the distinguished seminars, the CCMs, scientific advisory work. I think you have to do positive action. If not, what comes out is something that is not gender balanced. And they are not blaming men. It's something is these unconscious biases that we all have. I always cite the World Economic Forum. So if we don't do nothing, it takes 150 years for economic equality, 150 years for equality in political power. So I think it's too many years.
No, I also agree with what you have said, no? And we don't know what the future will hold, actually. So we have to work hardly now at present to have all of these achievements, no, for women. That so that we are well represented, we have the role, uh, key people, no key persons doing this role in our settings. I think that there's several among the biases that we also have. There's one that I think we should consider seriously, that it's the equivalent salaries, okay? And this is very important, okay? Because this also gives you the confidence, and also not only for you, for the other ones, that you really are evaluated and worth it as your counterman, no? Yeah.
Very often, this kind of debate and also quotas and positive actions are intended as something that benefit the women in society. But I think there's a slight difference in argument, which is it's not only good for women, it's good for society in general, because science and companies and in general, productivity rises when gender balance is achieved, and when there's a more diverse population among the workers, or among the scientists, among the people working there. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think this has to happen everywhere in the world. So we are living in Spanish, that we are in a very good position. We are reaching the gender balance in many places. And this is general social rights that started, for example, the maternity, paternity leave. This is something that feminists fight, and the men are equal right now. And this is good because I think it takes out this bias for hiring people, because right now they have the same rights, men and women. So if you hire someone but have to have 3 kids and it took maternity leave, it's going to happen the same for men and women. So you will have less one person working because has a maternity leave, independently of gender in this case.
Yeah, may I just add another aspect in this regard? I think that regarding motherhood, this is more regulated or better regulated. Even in Iceland, for example, the father is obliged to take also paternity leave. Okay, but now what I'm facing is a new requirement. It's not maternity, it's not motherhood, it's daughterhood. Okay, I have and now I don't have to take care of my daughter because she's already independent, but I have to take care of my mother or father in the past. And this takes a lot of time and efforts and energy also. And this has not been discussed as much as the other aspects. And in my case, we are 4, I have a sister and 2 brothers. And although all are involved, the main work and the main effort is done by my sister and myself. And I think that we should consider at certain point in our career that it's not motherhood, but daughterhood. That it's.
But at the end, it's a right that can be also taken by men. So it's a social right for everyone that maybe we are more aware and helping to put it.
Probably it's a matter of generation, because our daughters or sons, they know that this is very shared. Their care is very shared between the father and the mother. But our parents, this is not so clear for them. And at least for my mom, and she asks more to my daughter and myself than to the sons.
That you are very silent.
No, I agree with everything that is being said, and I think motherhood is an important issue. But more and more important is going to become the taking care of the eldest. including ourselves, we have to be taken care of, actually. So.
Do you think we have mentioned what happens here at the CNIO, which is kind of an island of, in my opinion, of good things? What do you think is the situation outside? I mean, is society taking enough measures to make it happen, to make it change? I mean, change into the direction that we wanted to change.
In gender equality, you mean?
I don't think so. I'm invited to many things, and many things happen at 7 p.m., 8 p.m. These are times that we are excluding people that are taking care of the kids, either men or women. Something sometimes comes from things related to even to the government, to politicians, to ministries. So I don't think there is a consciousness of really trying not to discriminate for people that are caretakers. So this is the most obvious thing to me, that nothing is done really at the level of society for conciliating really personal life.
When the pandemic came, and overcome all of us, many things happened. Among them, that we had to take care of people in our house and at the same time produce science or work in general. What was the effect, the impact of this phenomenon in your scientific career?
I have plenty of meetings with the washing machine working just in this place because I have a kid that at 6 years old. I have to hidden by him, and it was in the area that I put the washing machine. So I was having meetings with people abroad, many meetings in the pandemics with the washing machine just centrifugating clothes. So it was tough from my side. It was very tough.
No, for me, it was not an issue because, well, it was an issue because I don't like working at home. I'm not productive at home. I can't. But, you know, I didn't do many, well, I cooked a little more where I usually don't cook. So I had to cook this time. But, you know, I think the pandemic slowed science in general because everything was slowed down. And because working at home, you cannot do experiments, you can do other things, but we couldn't do experiments. And even when we started to come, you know, everything was slower, and there was this feeling that, you know, maybe we had to stop again. So in that sense, it was slowed in general, but not because of I only have one daughter, and she's already 15, so not much work on that side.
There has been some discussion about whether, because women scientists were more involved in the caring activities during the pandemic, they didn't have that much time to write papers, for instance, and to sit and think quietly because they had to stop, take care of the kids, or too many other things. So some data say that male scientists have been more productive during the pandemics, while women scientists have not. But the other day, precisely, Diana Morant, the minister, she said that it wasn't precisely that way. Do you remember that?
No, I think what Diana said was that I understood, and I agree with her, that during the pandemic, because we were more at home, we had more time to write papers, in general, because sometimes day-to-day, going to the
Little
lab,
things.
blah, 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 you never have time to sit down and write a paper or think. At least for me, it was very good to think, so we started doing something with the COVID. I thought it was very exciting to try to understand a little bit more this disease, and in fact, in the lab, we're still doing things with COVID, and I think at the Seminario many groups we started doing things with COVID. But I understand what you say, and it's probably right. In cases where there were small kids, for instance, probably you had less time to think and to write because you had to take care of them. In my case, it was like Anna. My son is also a teenager, so I didn't have to care for him really.
So let's think about what can be done better. What do you think is right? Do you think we can change things much more? I'm always thinking that in my experience, the scenario is a place where things are much better than outside the Seminario, I have to say. I've been here for just less than a year, but my experience is that measures here are very positive and very good for family life, and it's easy to work here. But maybe things can be done much better.
I'm sure. For instance, in the quality plan, there are things that we have not implemented yet. I think in the quality plan, and correct me if I'm wrong, Isabel maybe, or someone from the Works Council, we said that we could provide for daycare for women if they have kids and they have to go to a meeting. I don't think we have implemented that. I mean, and there are many things that we could do. I mean, I don't think we reach the top at all. I think we can do many more things.
Yeah, I also think that we could improve here, no, regarding the topic that we are discussing now, no. For example, well, what we are doing now, talking, discussing, it's important. Networking also is important. Mentoring, for example. We may establish a mentoring system for young women, I think, to guide them and to reinforce their confidence. And I think this would help, no? Having men more involved in all of these discussions. I think this is fundamental. No, why to split? Why not to have men here, no, and to discuss with us? This is also important. For example, for a woman that wants to become an PI in a group in the future, why not offering them a training program in management, no? For example, because I don't had this opportunity, and I really missed it when I became a PI, no? Salaries, for example, again, I think that having a competitive salary here, similar as men, I think this is super important. And also to provide and to give visibility to women here in the center, okay? That's very good to bring important women that contributed in the science from outside, but also giving visibility to women here. It's also very important. So all of these, I think this is important. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that I came from an ambience totally against to the freedom of research, this opportunity to manage your time, even if you are a boss, is easier also. So it's some kind of pushing people, young people, to try to be as top in her career to be able to manage your time in a more freely way. So I think CNIO has doing things good, but maybe this colloquium could be placed in a more routine, I don't know, every half a year with different people that tell us the experiences, people who has kids, no kids, or other bottlenecks in the life. Thus, we can learn from each other. It could be great, maybe.
There is this paper that I quote a lot. It's a Nature article where they ask women in academia what they would like to change, right? And they come up with 12 things. And I think this is something, many of the things we are doing, because this has been a guideline. But I think that's very good. From time to time, maybe ask, because I remember when we started the WISE office, that's what we did. The first meetings was asking the staff scientists, the PIs, what they would like to. And I remember something you said, Anna. Maybe you don't remember. But you said something like, no, it's that I don't like many of the things associated to this male idea of leadership, right? And maybe what we have to do is to change that, right?
Yeah, I think there's a masculine way to see leadership, and I think.
So I think that's.
I think there was a discussion with someone that was trying to say that we have to educate women to be more aggressive, more ambitious, and because that's part of the issue, right? Because the girls, even when they are already quite young, they lose this ambition. I'm not sure this is the way to go. Actually, I don't think it's been so ambitious. And regarding this last question, I think it's important that people in your lab see that you are a normal person, a woman, and that you can manage things in a normal way, and that you respect them, and you are respected by them. So in my case, it's relatively easy because everyone in my lab except one person is a woman. So it's a very female lab, and I think it's really important that they can see that you can conciliate, that you can, of course, there are moments in which you are completely stressed, and but for them it's also the same, even if they are PhD technicians or staff scientists, the stress comes every few months or wherever you have something to deliver and you become stressed, you have to deal with it. So the way they see that you deal with it, I think it's important for them to decide whether you want to be there or not, because if you see that your boss is not a nice person, you don't want to be a boss because you don't want to become that. So
we have 15 minutes left, and now I open the floor to you to see whether you can make questions or comments or.
Thanks for everything. So I have one comment and one question just for things that I read recently. The comment is about, I think, the importance about role models that you already said, and it's something that amazed me when I read it, is that they made some statistics about the role of women in movies along a period of time, and it was amazed how little times women are like a little character so I think all this gives a subliminal message to everyone in society, and this translates to these unconscious biases that everyone has. So I think role models are important for in every single step of life. So I just agree. And related with something that similar that I read, and I wanted to ask you, is that also they made some statistics about this imposter syndrome, this idea that we always question ourselves, which I think everyone has it at some point. But they made some statistics saying that women tend to be more critical of themselves. So I just wanted to ask if you think this is true or what do you think?
I can tell about Disney working in gender balance in the movies. All the movies right now have not a princess, have a heroine. I'm aware of that.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I noticed that because I saw many kids movies,
Yeah.
not now, but and that was amazing. So suddenly there were many lead characters that were women. Even in a movie, the movie Cars, which is all about cars, suddenly there was a car driver that was a woman. That was the best. So you could see how this was happening in Disney, which is Pixar, etc.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But still, I have to say the female character is the female. I mean, there's one. I remember, maybe you remember Los Pitufos. There's something very. There was Los Pitufos, and then there was La Pitufina. That's horrible, and that has changed already, but it takes a lot of time.
And she has all the moods in a female, because the other one is a gruñón, no sé. The other have different characteristics.
Different possibilities, different range.
But having said that, if you look at TV and you look the ads for toys for boys and girls, that's totally sexist. I mean, it's brutal. It's brutal.
I think we have gone to the wrong direction in that field, because now when you are looking for books for 3, 4, 5-year-old child, you have books for girls and books for boys at 3 years old. That's amazing. But anyway, what about the imposter syndrome? That's a great question.
Yeah, I think I totally agree that this exists, and we have to face it, because when you go to a meeting or in a meeting that you have to explain your skills, most of the time you are thinking in the skill that you don't have.
Yeah.
And you show this, and I say, you're stupid. So just potentially, because the rest of the people are like you, or most time below your level. So, and you are thinking, obsessed in the thing that you are doing wrong or you are not prepared for. So I think that maybe you can answer this. This happened to you, Oscar?
This tendency to believe that, maybe to show off. So I think that there might be an average tendency for males to show off that you're not to question yourself as much. So I think that in general trend could be that. Well, I think probably women are more reflexive and then tend to question themselves more. I think, but that's what I wanted to have your opinion. But
I think, coming back from something that Monica said, and we didn't want to go there, is whether this is purely educational and this will change as we change education, or there is some genetic component that makes, the difference between the two sexes.
yeah,
So
that's a good.
Because the studies, for instance, the science paper, famous science paper, 2016, when the kids are 5-year-old, there is no difference. So it's something educational, absolutely educational, in the families. If not in the families, because the families may be doing everything well, then at school. Not at school, the teachers, but maybe the other children, because they have other families. They may have
because actually,
conservative families. And I wanted to say something about the imposter syndrome also, if I may. I think it's very important, very, very important. And I was not aware of it. I learned about it. I was in the advisory board in a Max Planck Institute in Germany, and I shared a taxi with 2 women from the US. And they asked me, Maria, do you have imposter syndrome? And I said, what is that? And then they explained it to me, and then I'm aware when I'm feeling that, and then this helps me because I say, well, but this guy is not better than me.
But that's true, no? Because probably it's cultural, and we as a woman, we have not been trained to be as assertive as men, and we doubt probably, and we question ourselves more in this regard, and this may be taken as a weakness of ourselves, or even for ourselves.
Okay, I will be quick. So thanks. It has been very inspiring. So hearing to you, I was thinking about this imposter syndrome, and that normally it leads to saying to the women that they have to be more confident. And I was thinking, okay, if we have been shown already that in science, with the John and Jane or Jennifer paper, that the position of the men in science is partly because they are men. Why don't we, when talk about that, why don't we ask men to think about it as much as we do as women? So I think this is missing in this conversation, that I think our male partners have to do their work too. And I think with the quotas, for example, we always justify, maybe there are women that occupy a position because they are women, but the reality now is that men are occupying the positions because they are men, and they are rated higher because of that. So I think there is like a lot to think about by all, no? I kind of miss like the comments of male in this regards. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, I think I absolutely agree with you. I think that men have to do the part of the work also. Absolutely.
So thank you very much, I think it's great to have this discussion and see the different histories you have in your personal way on this, and many points resonate. But I want to come to the point of what can we do, and I like Nuria, so the different aspect points that you raised that can be done at the CNIO to help change the numbers, right? So Maria mentioned this report, the 100 years we have to wait, but we know, it's just very recently, the report, Women in Mujeres en Ciencia, from the ministry. So again, we are in the 25% for many, many years in positions of high responsibility. So the question is, what can we do to change? And of course, there are actions that we can do at the CNIO, which I think we are definitely leaders in this. But the other is, what can we do outside? And that also brings the CNIO and gives visibility to our people, but also to help. And one point I think is to participate in different initiatives. I know that CNIO participates in STEM, so women from but for example, I'm going to talk about ASEICA. I'm going to have here is the Spanish Association for Cancer Research. And I have to say that one thing that you talked about of reference and having people, so different kind of, to show different kind of leadership and different kind of women. So actually the CNIO participates in this. We have 20 women actually indeed that participate in this action Conócelas. You know that this is an action we have now connected many researchers, 25,000 students. The reason why I'm trying in this is because this has also a way to give visibility to participate in other activities. And I think, so something that the CNIO can do also perhaps better is to go more to schools, but not only schools and so early, intermediate, and at universities, because the message we have to give to women is different. So kids, what we see is the kids actually are not that worried about these male-female problems, but this is in high schools and at university with women. Really, this is what we're seeing now, that they don't feel attractive enough, that our profession is attractive enough. So this is something that we need to change. This is one thing. And then I think these courses and training aspects for, well, not only for leadership, for communication. So my point on this, summarizing, is that so participating also as part of other initiatives that so people here and that are in our area indeed. So, but thank you for it.
Maria?
I'd like to, we haven't mentioned one thing, which I think is very important, at least I'm noticing it's changing a lot, primary education, secondary education, which is February 11th. I don't know if you have been contacted by tons of students at schools. I really think this date is changing a lot the visibility of women in primary and secondary education. I don't know which is your feeling. But at least I get a lot of contacts from students, from teachers. I think for the first time, really, is getting into the primary education, the visibility of women.
Yeah, also the professors, the teachers.
The teachers also.
Yes, Anna, yeah, quick, please, yes. Anna, get el micro. Anna, go ahead.
So it's me. So my comment or my question is related with Oscar's question before about the impostor syndrome, and he mentioned something that sounds very frequently to me. That is that women, we tend to be more self-critic, and I wonder why. I think this is a problem of values. Why to be self-critic is considered like a bad thing? Or why to be a person who wants to dialogue, to listen to others, to have empathy, to have compassion, should be considered like a bad value. So I think it's a problem of value. So what we want to consider like a good thing or a bad thing. So this is like at the root of everything. Because if to become aggressive, to become competitive in that way is the good thing. And I think this has been demonstrated that it's not a good way to move towards. So I think now we have the possibility to change values and to start thinking that being critic with ourselves, that to be open-minded, that to be tolerant is not a bad thing. So it's just the only thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, thank you. Good point.
I agree, but I think the impostor syndrome is something different than that. It's really that
You don't believe that you deserve
your own
to be there.
Yeah. It's not being self-critical. But I fully agree with you. That's a role model kind of thing.
Yeah.
From Jess, and then we have to go. But we can keep talking outside. But go ahead.
Something that I think we that doesn't get discussed as much and that would be useful for all managers and group leaders here at the CNIO as well is I agree that maternity leave and paternity leave are starting to equalise, but I think there's a problem that comes after that, which is that when you've got little children, the burden of childcare falls on the mother. So For instance, my two children are at Spanish schools. Both the WhatsApp groups for both my children are only mums. And so all of the management of the children's birthday parties and issues and costumes and whatever is presumed to be done by mums. And something else that I find really strongly is that when the kids are sick, the presumption is that the mother will look after them, even if, which is in the case with us, where both of us are managers of our own area, both of us have very busy roles, but it is always presumed by everybody and even colleagues that the mum will look after the children when they're sick. So I think something we could do here and should happen more frequently is that anybody who manages a group, if you have fathers in your group, you need to be open to them needing to look after the children when they're sick, or work less in the summer when the children aren't at school, sort of not presume that the burden of childcare is going to fall on the mum all the time. And that's something that we're very, not we at the CNIO, in society, we're very far behind on still.
I think we have to end very quickly.
Yes. Thank you very much to the participants of this colloquium. I really enjoy. I hope you do. And we have to leave because there is a seminar here, and that we would love to continue maybe outside. So thank you very much.